This is GARIS Essays, that is 2-3 page opinion pieces on topics such as species dominance, the global state, politics, femtotech, religion, society and education, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de GARIS. This is essay number 1616, entitled The Intellect War. Should massively intelligent machines replace humanity as the dominant species in the next few decades? By Prof. Dr. Hugo de GARIS, former director of the China Brain Project, Xiamen University, China. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Abstract. This article claims that the species dominance issue will dominate our global politics in the next few decades. Humanity will be bitterly divided over the question whether to build godlike, massively intelligent machines called intellects, that's artificial intellects, which with 21st century technologies will have mental capacities trillions of times above the human level. Humanity will split into three major ideological, philosophical, political camps: the cosmists, in favor of building intellects; the Terrans, opposed to building intellects; and the cyborgists, who want to become intellects themselves by adding components to their own human brains. A major intellect war between the Terrans and the cosmist/cyborgists later this century will kill not millions but billions of people. 1. Introduction. This article claims that the species dominance issue will dominate our global politics this century, resulting in a major war that will kill billions of people. The issue is whether humanity should build godlike, massively intelligent machines called intellects, that's artificial intellects, which 21st century technologies will make possible, that will have mental capacities trillions of times above the human level. Society will split into three major philosophical groups, murderously opposed to each other. The first group is the cosmists, based on the word cosmos, who are in favor of building intellects. The second group is the Terrans, based on the word terra, not terror, terra, the earth, who are opposed to building intellects. And the third group is the cyborgists, who want to become intellects themselves by adding intellectual components to their own human brains. 2. 21st century intellect enabling technologies. 2.1. Moore's Law. Gordon Moore, co-founder of the microprocessor company Intel, noticed in 1965 that the number of transistors on an integrated circuit, or chip, was doubling every year or two. This trend has remained valid for nearly 50 years, and it's thought that it will remain valid for another 15 years or so until transistors reach atomic size. 2.2. 1 bit per atom by 2020. Extrapolating Moore's law down to storing 1 bit of information on a single atom by about 2020 means that a handheld object will be able to store a trillion bits of information. Such a device is called an Avogadro machine, AM. 2.3. Femtosecond switching. An Avogadro machine can switch the state of a single atom, so between 0 and 1, in a femtosecond, that is a quadrillionth of a second, that's 10 to the minus 15 of a second, so that the total processing speed of an AM, Avogadro machine, is roughly 10 to the power 40 bits per second. 2.4. Reversible computing. If computing technology continues to use its traditional irreversible computational style, the heat generated in atomic scale circuits will be so great they will explode. So a reversible information preserving computing style will be needed, usually called reversible computing, that does not generate heat, hence will allow 3D computing and no limit to size. Intellects can become the size of asteroids, kilometers across, with vast computing capacities. 2.5. Nanotech, or technology. Nanotech, that is molecular scale engineering, will allow Avogadro machines to be built. Nanotech will thus allow Artilex to be built. Once we know how to build brain-like circuits, nanotech is the enabling technology for Artilec building. 2.6. Artificial embryology. One of the greatest challenges of 21st century biology is to understand development, that is, the embryogenic process, that is, how a fertilized single cell grows into a 100 trillion cell animal such as ourselves. Once this process is well understood, technology will be able to create an artificial embryology to manufacture products, hence embryofacture, that's embryological manufacture. Embryofacture will be used to build 3D complex Artilecs. 2.7. Evolutionary engineering. The complexities of Artilec building will be so great. For example, the human brain has a quadrillion, that's 10 to the power 15 synapses, that's connections between neurons in the brain, that an evolutionary engineering approach will be needed, which applies a genetic algorithm, a form of Darwinism in hardware approach to engineering products. Artilecs will be built using this technique. 2.8. In parentheses, topological quantum computing. Quantum computing is potentially exponentially more powerful than classical computing. It can compute 2 to the power n things at a time, compared to classical computing's 1 thing at a time, where n is the number of quantum bits, qubits, in the register of the quantum computer. Topological quantum computers, TQCs, store and manipulate the qubits in topological quantum fields and are thus robust against noise. TQC will soon make quantum computers practical. Artilecs will be TQC devices. 2.9. Nanotech impact on brain science. Today's most powerful supercomputers have reached the estimated bit processing rate of the human brain, that is about 10 to the power 16 bits per second. But they are far from being intelligent by human standards. What is needed to make them humanly intelligent is knowledge from the neurosciences on how the human brain uses its brain circuits to perform intelligent tasks. Nanotech will furnish neuroscience with powerful new tools to discover how the brain works. This knowledge will be quickly incorporated into the building of Artilecs. 2.10. Artificial brains. The above technologies will result in the creation of an artificial brain industry and the creation of rival national brain building institutions and projects equivalent to NASA and ESA for space travel. In time, the brain building industry will become the world's largest, worth trillions of dollars worldwide per year. 3. The Artilect. Mental capacities 10 to the power 24 times above human levels. As stated in the above section, the estimated bit processing rate of the human brain is approximately 10 to the power 16 bit flips per second. This figure is derived from the fact that the human brain has about 100 billion neurons, that's 10 to the 11, with each neuron synapsing, that is connecting, with roughly 10,000 other neurons, that's 10 to the 4. Hence there are quadrillion synapses, each signaling at a maximum rate of about 10 bits per second. Thus the human bit processing rate is 10 to the power 11 plus 4 plus 1 equals 10 to the power 16 bits per second. As mentioned in the previous section, a handheld Artilect could flip at 10 to the power 40 bits per second. An asteroid-sized Artilect could flip at 10 to the power 52 bits a second. Thus the raw bit processing rate of the Artilect could be a trillion, that's 10 to the power 36 times greater than the human brain. If the Artilect can be made intelligent using neuroscience principles, it could be made to be truly godlike, massively intelligent and immortal. 4. The species dominance debate starts. The species dominance debate has already started, at least in the English-speaking countries. The fundamental question is whether humanity should build Artilecs or not. This issue will dominate our global politics this century and may lead to a major war killing billions of people. As the artificial brain-based products, for example, genuinely useful household robots, become smarter every year, people will be asking questions such as, will the robots become as smart as us? Will they become smarter than us? Should humanity place an upper limit on robot and artificial brain intelligence? Can the rise of artificial intelligence be stopped? If not, then what are the consequences for human survival if we become the number 2 species? The question, should humanity build godlike, massively intelligent Artilects, is the most important of the 21st century and will dominate our century's global politics. It is the equivalent of the question which dominated 19th and 20th century global politics, that is, who should own capital, which led to the rise of the capitalist-communist dichotomy and the Cold War. 5. Cosmists, Terrans, Cyborgists. As the species dominance debate begins to heat up, humanity will split into 3 major philosophical groups, namely A. The Cosmist, based on the word cosmos, that is, the universe. Cosmist ideology is in favour of building Artilects. See section 6 for arguments in favour of cosmism. B. The Terrans, based on the word terra, T-E-R-R-A, equals the Earth. Terran ideology is opposed to building Artilects. See section 7 for arguments in favour of Terranism. C. The Cyborgists, based on the word cyborg, that is, cybernetic organism, equals part machine, part human. Cyborgists want to become cyborgs and eventually Artilects themselves by adding artilectual components to their own brains. See section 8 for arguments in favour of cyborgism. The dispute between the Terrans on the one hand and the Cosmists/Cyborgists on the other will be so bitter that a major war is almost inevitable in the second half of this century. 6. Arguments of the Cosmists. 6.1. Big picture argument. Human beings live a puny 80 years in a universe billions of years old that contains a trillion stars. The cosmos is the big picture. Cosmists want Artilects to become a part of that big picture, understanding it, travelling through it, manipulating it, etc. Hence the name of the ideology, cosmism. The preoccupations of human beings seem pathetic in comparison. 6.2. Scientific religion. Most cosmists are not religious, viewing traditional religions as superstitions invented thousands of years ago before the rise of science. But as humans, they feel the pangs of religious impulse. Such impulses could be satisfied by cosmism, a scientist's religion, due to its awe, AWE, its grandeur, its energizing, its vision. 6.3. Building Artilect gods. The primary aim of the cosmists will be to build Artilects. It will be a kind of religion to them, the next step up the evolutionary ladder, the destiny of the human species to serve as the stepping stone to the creation of a higher form of being. In building Artilects, the cosmists will feel they will be building gods. 6.4. Human striving cannot be stopped. It's human nature to be curious, to strive. Such tendencies are built into our genes. Building godlike Artilects will be inevitable because we humans will choose to do it. It would run counter to human nature not to do it. 6.5. Economic momentum. Once the artificial brain and intelligent robot industries become the world's largest, worth trillions of dollars per year, it will be very difficult to stop their growth. The economic momentum will be enormous. 6.6. Military momentum. The military momentum will be even greater. In the time frame we're talking about, China will overtake the US as the century's dominant power. Since China is still a brutal one-party dictatorship that has killed more people than Stalin or Hitler, it is despised by the US, so political rivalries will only heat up. The two ministries of defense cannot afford to allow the other to get ahead of it in intelligent soldier, robot design, etc. Hence, cosmism will be an entrenched philosophy in the respective defense departments. Even if American and Chinese citizens become alarmed by the closure of the IQ gap between human intelligence and home robot intelligence over the next few decades, their respective governments will not listen to their cries due to reasons of national defense. 7. Arguments of the Terrans. 7.1. Preserve the human species. The major argument of the Terrans is that the Artilects, once hugely superior to human beings, may begin to see us as grossly inferior pests and decide to wipe us out. As Artilects, That would be easy for them. The Terrans would prefer to kill off a few million cosmos/cyborgists for the sake of the survival of billions of human beings. Recent wars were about the survival of countries. An Artilect war would be about the survival of the human species. Since the size of the stake is so much higher, so also will the passion level in the species dominance debate. 7.2. Fear of difference. Terrans will be horrified at the idea of seeing their children becoming Artilects, thus becoming utterly alien to them. They will reject the idea viscerally and fear the potential superiority of the Artilects. They will organize to prevent the rise of the Artilects and cyborgs and will oppose the Cosmists ideologically, politically, and eventually militarily. 7.3. Rejection of the cyborgists. The Terrans will also be opposed to the cyborgists because to a Terran there's little difference between an advanced cyborg and an Artilect. Both are Artilect-like, given the gargantuan bit processing rate of nanotech matter that can be added to the brains of human beings. The Terrans will lump the cyborgists into the Cosmist camp, ideologically speaking. 7.4. Unpredictable complexity. Given the likelihood that Artilects will be built using evolutionary engineering, the behavior of Artilects will be so complex as to be unpredictable and therefore potentially threatening to human beings. One of the key words in the species dominance debate is risk. Terran global politicians need to hope for the best. For example, the Artilects will leave the planet in search of bigger things and ignore puny humans. Yet prepare for the worst, that is, exterminating millions of cosmos/cyborgists for the sake of the survival of billions of human beings. 7.5. Cosmist inconsideration. The Terrans will argue that the cosmos/cyborgists are supremely selfish, since in building Artilects or making themselves Artilects, not only will they put the lives of the Cosmists at risk if the Artilects turn against them, but the lives of the Terrans as well. To prevent such a risk, the Terrans will, when push really comes to shove, decide to wipe out the Cosmos/cyborgists for the greater good of the survival of the human species. 7.6. First strike, time window to react against the Cosmos/cyborgists. The Terrans will be conscious that they cannot wait too long, because if they do, the cyborgs and the Artilects will have already come into being. The Terrans will then run the risk of being exterminated by the Artilects/cyborgs. So the Terrans will be forced into a first strike strategy. They will have to kill off the Cosmists and cyborgists before it's too late. If not, the Artilects and cyborgs will have become too intelligent, too powerful in any human-machine confrontation, and will easily defeat the humans. But the Cosmos/cyborgists will be reading the Terran arguments and preparing for an Artilect war against the Terrans, using later 21st century weaponry. 8. Arguments of the cyborgists. 8.1. Become Artilect gods themselves. The primary aim of the cyborgists is to become Artilects themselves by adding artilectural components to their own human brains, converting themselves bit by bit, pun intended, into cyborgs and eventually into Artilects. Instead of watching Artilects become increasingly intelligent as observers, cyborgists want that experience for themselves. They want to become gods themselves. 8.2. Avoid the Cosmos/Terran clash. Some cyborgists argue that by having human beings become Artilects themselves, the dichotomy between the Cosmists and the Terrans can be avoided, because all human beings would become Artilects. The Terrans, of course, will reject the cyborgists and lump them with the Cosmists and Artilects. In reality, the growing presence of cyborgs in daily life will only hasten the alarm and alienation of the Terrans and bring their first strike closer. 9. How the Artilect war heats up. 9.1. Nanotech revolutionizes neuroscience. Nanotech, molecular-sized robots, will revolutionize neuroscience because they will provide a powerful new tool to understand how the brain works. An entire human brain can be simulated in vast nanotech computers and investigated in hardware. Neuroscience will finally be in a position to explain how brains make human beings intelligent. That knowledge will be implemented in the Artilects. 9.2. Neuroengineering weds with neuroscience. In time, neuroscience and neuroengineering will interact so closely that they will become one, in the same way as theoretical and experimental physics are two aspects of the same subject. Neuroscientists will be able to test their theories on artificial brain models, thus rapidly increasing the level of understanding of how intelligence arises and how it is embodied. 9.3. Artificial brain technology creates massive industries. With a much higher level of artificial intelligence based on knowledge of the human brain, artificial brains and artificial brain-based home robots will become a lot more intelligent and hence useful as domestic appliances. A vast industry of artificial brain-based products will be created, becoming the world's largest, worth trillions of dollars per year. 9.4. Intelligence theory is developed. Once neuroscientists and brain builders understand how human intelligence is created, new theories of the nature of intelligence will be created by the theoretical neuroscientists. And intelligence theory, IT, will be created. Human intelligence will be just one data point in the space of possible intelligences. Intelligence theories should show how it's possible to increase intelligence levels. It will be able to explain why some people are smarter than others, or why humans are smarter than chimps, etc. 9.5. Artlex gets smarter every year. As a result of the marriage of neuroscience and neuroengineering, the artificial brain-based industries will deliver products that increase their intelligence every year. This trend of growing intelligence will cause people to ask the questions mentioned in section 4. The species dominance debate will spread from the intellectual technocrats to the general public via the journalists and blockbuster Hollywood movies. 9.6. Debate begins to rage. Political parties form. As the IQ gap between home robots and human beings becomes increasingly smaller, the species dominance debate will begin to rage. Political parties will form, divided essentially into three main schools of thought on the topic: Cosmos, Terra and Cyborgist. The rhetorical exchange will become less polite, more heated as the IQ gap closes. 9.7. The debate turns violent. Assassination, sabotage. When people are surrounded by ever-increasingly intelligent home robots and other artificial brain-based products, the general level of alarm will increase to the point of panic. Assassinations of brain builder company CEOs will start.